WNST, and honest to God, I'm looking through my Rolodex. I get back from Minnesota. Ravens get their ass kicked, and we got a Thursday night game with the Dolphins. And I'm like, who do I really want to talk baseball with here this week? Who do I want to get some serious examination? Had been on the show for a while. And this guy's one of my favorite dudes on the planet. Treated us like family for all the 20-some years we've known each other, but certainly up in Toronto where we swapped for the Bone Marrow Registry. He is a 16-year Major League veteran, but nothing better than that big debut in Double-A with the Bowie Bay Sox back in the day on 33rd Street. He is related to Rick Dempsey. He is his own Rick Dempsey in another world in Toronto where he does fantastic Sunday roast and toasts on the Rogers Sports that we welcome Greg Zahn, my dear friend, back onto the program. World Series, Blue Jays and Orioles aren't in it again, Zahny. What's going on here, man?
Well, their record was very deserved. They were exactly the teams that they played it out to be.
And maybe these two teams have been as well, right? I mean, the Dodgers spent a lot of money, had a lot of young talent. They were a favorite from the beginning and kind of showed that all year. The Astros had their bumps and their bruises, and certainly all of last season was a bump and a bruise for them. But this is an entertaining group of baseball players. There's a lot going on here, a lot of fan base going on here, a lot of executives and strategy going on here, bullpens that are lacking. There's a lot that's going to happen here over the next week, Greg.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot. I mean, I don't imagine it's going to be as good a series as people hope it's going to be. I mean, it's hard to paint a team that won 100 games as a severe underdog, but in my opinion, if the Astros don't steal one of the first two games in LA, I think they're going to get swept.
Well, we have a situation here that the stars have aligned. You're going to have an actual 1 against the 1, a 2 against the 2. Everybody's got rest here, for the most part healthy. So a lot of those other factors that we hear about or feeling more than that, we're going to have a starter in game 2 and 3 that we spent 2 months talking about in June and July as to where was Verlander going to go, what would he be once he got there. Same thing with Darvish, who the Rangers were always just trying to get healthy. These guys are going to play a major role in this thing. That also, I think, twists the plot for how they manage their summer. And certainly, Zach Britton probably would have looked pretty good in the Astros bullpen right about now, right?
Yeah, he sure would have. A heck of a lot better than Francisco Liriano, that's for sure. You look at the 1s and the 2s. Games 1 and 2 are legit. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a toss-up. Who can win? Who's going to break out? Whatever. But in my opinion, the 3, 4, 5 that the Dodgers have are head and shoulders better than what you're probably going to see from the Astros in 3, 4, 5. And if it's tied in the 6th inning, that bullpen for the Dodgers it's like a big league bullpen going against a Double-A bullpen. It's not even close. Now they might give up runs because that's what pitchers do from time to time. But I just don't see it. Those guys are on such a roll. Brandon Morrow. Good God, he's coming in throwing 98-mile-an-hour paint down and away with a 92-mile-an-hour slider disappearing into the dirt. I mean, that's just gross. And he's not. And then Kenley Jansen comes in and throws nothing but cutters and curveballs. And holy smokes, he's tough to square up. So it'll be fun watching games 1 and 2 for me. If it gets past game 4, it'll be a lot of fun again because it's going to be flipped around and we'll see somebody pitch for a second time in the series.
As a guy that wasn't born 6'5" with the muscular Southern California physique, Zahner, is there something about the way you played the game and how long you played the game, 16 years, against a lot of odds? I mean, your story's pretty cool all the way around, but to see an Altuve walk into your locker room, right? Like, you know what it was like to sort of kind of be that guy to some degree, but not that guy, and to see the skill set he brings, and he's Venezuelan. I want to point that out, Zahn, because I got to throw that part in there. But what a special guy and sort of a generational. I mean, we saw it with Muggsy Bogues in basketball, and I go back to Freddie Patek, and I know you do too as well. But this is a really, really special thing we're seeing in Altuve, and he's part of the thing that makes baseball fun. You want to root for a guy like him.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what makes baseball so special because anybody, it doesn't matter what your body looks like. You can be just about any size or shape and still be a pretty good ball player. Altuve is a hell of a talent. He's a lot of fun to watch. For me, if you're willing to accept the violent swings where he'll get 3 hits one night and then he'll go out there and go 0 for 4 with 6 pitches being seen the next night, if you're okay with that and you're thinking, okay, just all I'm thinking about is total package here. He plays defense. He can steal some bases. The guy can impact the game in a lot of different ways. Yeah, he's unbelievable. I mean, it's just a lot of fun to watch. The energy that he brings, it's fun. And I mean, he's 5'6". Let's be honest, he's awfully cute. It's a great story.
It is a great story. I mean,
it's a tremendous story. And you know, when I got to the big leagues, I was about 160 pounds soaking wet. I was playing the catching position that was still thought of as a spot where you needed a big guy to weather the storm of 162 games. And then it turns out probably one of the greatest catchers of all time. I don't care what the media guy said. Pudge Rodriguez was about 5'9", and he was probably, when he wanted to be, the best at everything ever. So it's a testament to the game. It's a totally different animal. And then you have Aaron Judge. I mean, we saw exactly the polar opposites playing in that series. Aaron Judge standing there at 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", almost 300 pounds, and then you got Altuve at 5'6", $165, $170. And you know, I mean, Altuve is not a singles hitter. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's proven that he can go oppo too, which is even scarier. The guy, he's a swinging machine. He goes out there and he starts swinging as soon as he leaves the on deck circle, and he puts it in play. But he's got that rare combination of power and speed that stretches defenses. And that's why you get so many. That's why you get so many hits, and that's why you get so many cheap hits, because he can stretch the defense like other people cannot. Namely, somebody like me, because I didn't have any speed, so they didn't have to, you know, worry about playing me up and making it easier for me to get base hits. It was, you know, playing me straight up and playing me to pull, and you know, all of a sudden we're taking away everything.
You know, you watch the Tigers play, and we watch Verlander, and we saw him be amongst the best pitchers in the sport for a period of time. And then there's been this last couple of years a little bit of a malaise. Certainly that whole rotation, you know, with Scherzer in Washington, and you know, Fister gone and all that. You know, this has been an incredible thing for him to have played such a huge role in this pennant race, and will play a huge role in this World Series, win or lose. That back in July, I don't know that everyone was sticking their neck out saying, I need Justin Verlander to go out here and give me 10, 11 starts after August 1st. The Astros paid a price for him, and I know it was tough to find impact players. You know, the Orioles didn't do any dealing at all, and Verlander winds up being this incredible acquisition story at the deadline.
Yeah, but you know what, Nestor? If you go back and you evaluate Justin Verlander the way I would evaluate him, with my eyes, and you look at the ball come out of his hands, even back in June, late May, you look at the ball coming out of his hands, and you realize, okay, this was a guy who had that special third gear where if he was sniffing a no-no, a shutout, complete game, all of a sudden the velocity on the fastball would jump from an average of 95 to triple digits, and that's after 100 pitches. That was a special talent. Well, he doesn't have that third gear to get to the triple digits anymore, but I was watching him pitch in May, in June, and I still saw 95. I still saw a good bite on the breaking ball. His slider was absolute garbage at that point, and his changeup was still there. He was getting beat a lot on his slider, in my estimation, his fourth best pitch. And then all of a sudden, I say to myself, you know what, this guy he can still pitch. The only thing that he's not doing right now is he's not making smart choices with the breaking balls, and he's not locating. And all that is mechanics. And, you know, you've seen enough postseason baseball to know that when you get the adrenaline in there, you are going to add 2 or 3 miles an hour. And his velocity has gone back up. I saw a couple of 97s the other day. But the one thing you're seeing now that you always saw from Verlander was they're in their lanes. It's very rare that he'll be trying to shoot that outside corner against a righty and miss in the middle of the plate. He's not missing in the middle. And that's what made him great for so many years. When he went in, it was in. When he went away, it was away. And it was 96 miles an hour on the black. I'm starting to see that location come back. And let's be honest, if somebody told you, hey, listen, I've got a right-handed pitcher who throws 95 miles an hour with a great curveball and a great changeup, and he can locate, you'd be like, okay, when can we sign him? Well, those numbers right there, those are sort of a down. That's him regressing That's Justin Verlander losing it. I mean, give me a break. I'll take a guy who's losing it any day if he's still throwing 95 miles an hour and he can still throw it where he wants to. I mean, we're so used to his dominance and his amazing skill set that, if he loses 3 miles an hour off his heater in the ninth inning, we're sitting there going, oh, he's done. But he's not even close to done.
Well, he's got to get to the finish line because of the bullpen there. Greg Zahn joining us here, 16-year Major League Baseball veteran. He calls the action the way he sees it north of the border up in Toronto for Rogers Sportsnet. And you can follow him at Greg Zahn out on Twitter, where I see the backswing of a wonderful afternoon on the golf course. Greg, for Kershaw and I think for the Dodgers organization, been 30 years since Kirk Gibson. I mean, I don't know where you were that night, but I'll never forget that home run. And it feels like yesterday to me, but then I look back and say it was 29 years ago, a lifetime ago, really, and the Dodgers haven't won. They've been good. This is their opportunity, and certainly in the middle of that is Kershaw, who's done everything but this, right?
Yeah, well, I can tell you exactly where I was 29 years ago. I was in the first base mezzanine at Dodger Stadium.
Were you?
Watching it live. All the other stuff in my family turned down for Game 1 tickets. So I took my sister. We went to Game 1, and we got to see one of the greatest moments in baseball history.
Well, I'm on the phone with the right guy then. That I brought up a good memory for you.
It was amazing. I actually got welled up the other night when I was talking about it on the broadcast, because it's just one of those moments. It's one of those iconic moments. And then 29 years later to the day, Justin Turner walks him off with a big homer. It was unbelievable. So Kershaw. But see, Kershaw's in a way better position now. The monkey's off his back. He's won a playoff game at home. He's pitched pretty darn well so far this postseason. And he's got a manager who is, shall we say, in a hurry to get to that bullpen. He does not like his starters to see the lineup, especially the meat of the lineup, more than twice. So, if Kershaw goes out and he's 80% of what he is, he'll breeze through 5 innings of work, maybe 5 2/3 worth of work. And you know what? Just all Dave Roberts has to do is let his eyes tell him what to do. If the hitters aren't reacting well to his stuff, you leave him out there. You get him through 6. If he's still rolling with after 6, you let him roll it through 7. Mm-hmm. But Kershaw doesn't have to do that all by himself anymore. There's enough guys on that team. Rich Hill, Darvish has been unbelievable in this postseason. Even that Alex Wood kid, I mean, the game that he got beat in Chicago, he gave up 3 solo homers. And the only reason why that didn't turn out to be a quality start for him is because the Dodgers didn't score diddly. But that was on the heels of 20-plus days off. This Alex Wood kid comes out and he pitches a gem, in my opinion. So he doesn't have to do it all by himself. And like I said, we talked about earlier, they have that lockdown bullpen. That bullpen's ridiculous right now. Absolutely ridiculous. They're bringing, like, Singrani used to had 20 saves for the Reds, left-handed arm. They got Watson. I mean, it's filthy. I'd almost rather you leave the Clayton Kershaws of the world in the game for me, please, so I don't have to face Brandon Morrow throwing 98 miles an hour, just absolute easy gas, and then Kenley Jansen with bowling ball cutters. Ugh. And I'm glad I'm not a hitter anymore.
Well, Zahni, we'll be here watching baseball every night, and much like the Red Sox and the Nationals or the Indians or any of the other teams that thought they were going to get there, our noses are pressed up against the glass. I'm not digging what I'm getting here in Baltimore again, and I feel like this thing's going in the wrong direction. Certainly there's not a whole lot of direction to go when you're in the American League Championship Series other than down or sideways, but watching these teams here the last couple of weeks, all of them, it really feels far away for the Orioles, and honestly, I've seen enough of the Blue Jays, and you have as well. It feels kind of far away, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I watch the Jays play every single day, and they're old and slow, and they're not very dynamic. They can only score one way, and that's via the homer. Their starting pitching's pretty good, but they're one injury away from being pedestrian, and their bullpen isn't as good as it should be. If they want to compete, they got a decent closer. I think he learned a couple of valuable lessons there at the end of the season. But you know what? They're going to lose their best player if, unless you believe, what. I mean, every free agent to be says, "Oh, hey, I hope I can work it out with the team that I play for." They all say that. That's their job. You're not going to eliminate one of 30 teams in the negotiating or in the bidding process by saying, nah, it's been nice, but I think I'm going to move on at the end of my time here. And they're going to lose Josh Donaldson, in my opinion. They're going to lose him, and if they lose Josh Donaldson, that will have been 3 iconic players in a 4-year stretch. I mean, how long are they going to hold on to him? They're talking about keeping him until, whatever. But the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees have taken such a gigantic leap forward in this division. Their offense, they both have really young, athletic, dynamic position players. The Red Sox have a pretty darn good 1-2 punch in Chris Sale and David Price when he comes back healthy and he's back in the rotation. Porcello won the Cy Young last year and he had an off season. I mean, when you look at the Orioles and the Jays, what are we talking about here? I mean, who can we talk about that's going to get your juices flowing?
I think we're talking about third place, aren't we? I mean, literally,
you're talking about a fight for third or fourth place, and you guys are in the same position coming up here with Manny Machado. I mean, I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if he even entertained the idea of negotiating an extension with the Orioles. He's going to hit free agency. He's going to hit it young, and who knows where he ends up. He could end up playing shortstop for somebody. You don't even know that he's just pigeonholed into playing third. People forget that he's a hell of a shortstop. So they're in the same boat. And I was actually shocked that the Jays didn't trade Josh Donaldson last year when his value was at its height. Now you go into a situation where he is in the offseason. You're going to be able to score yourself 2, maybe 3 really good players for a guy like Josh. Same boat with Manny Machado. If you're going to deal him, you better deal him now, because at the trade deadline, people are going to understand that you're desperate and that you're going to try to get a player for him, but you're only going to get 1 decent player, not 2 or 3. Right now, if you don't think, if you're the Orioles, and do you really honestly think you're going to win the division or even that second wild card? And the other question you ask yourself is, what would you rather do? Would you rather trade a guy like Machado, have the fans mad at you for a couple years, but you're closer to being in the World Series because of the players that are coming back in the deal? Or would you rather win the second wild card and get beaten in a 1-game playoff?
Well, that was the Chris Davis money, right? I mean, that was not something that was endorsed by Duquette or Buck Showalter. That was something that came right from the man, and that's the way this place is run. Toronto's run like a corporation, right? I mean, they had the entire country, in the palm of their hand this time last year, and now it feels like they might be years because of the Yankees and the Red Sox, same as the Orioles, because they're in too deep with the wrong crowd with the Yankees and the Red Sox, certainly at the wrong time. I mean, I'd be shocked if the Blue Jays or the Orioles have one playoff appearance amongst them in the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, they're going to have to make a bold move. One or both of them has to make a bold move, because what the Yankees and the Red Sox did was they developed a whole lot of dynamic, game-changing impact position players. And now when you look at the Yankees, where they got Judge, they got Sanchez. Yeah, Didi Gregorius came from outside the organization, but he's real young. He's a real good-looking player. And then you got Luis Severino with a sub-3 ERA this year in the rotation. You still got Dellin Betances. You still got Aroldis Chapman signed up. This kid, Chad Green, is unbelievable. He throws absolute fuzz. And they're looking good. Now you go over to Boston, and you look at these Benintendi, Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts. Are you kidding me? Jackie Bradley Jr., all these good young players. Their catching tandem was the most productive catching tandem in the game. Just absolutely awesome. And like I said before, they got the best 1-2 in the game with Price and Sale. And I'm sure they've got more coming. They developed the players from within. And so, like I said, it's going to take a seriously bold move by one of these GMs in Baltimore and Toronto in order to bridge the gap. Because otherwise you're playing for third place. You're hoping that the other team, Boston or New York, has a major injury or something like that, and you're able to win 85 to 90 games and slip into that second wild card spot. But there's some great young players all over the game of baseball right now, and I don't see a whole lot of them other than, say, Machado in Baltimore and Toronto. We're old and slow. You guys have one great young player, but old and slow.
Greg Zahn joining us here, the man, the myth, the legend. You can follow him out on Twitter. What do you do off season, man? You just sit around watching the Maple Leafs and getting ready for Dunedin, or what, man?
No, not even close. I hang out here in Toronto for a little while, and and then I go to our ski chalet in British Columbia. I ski for three straight months.
Wow, I'm going to come out to BC and visit up with you during the holidays,
you should.
man.
Bring your skates, bring your skis. It's lovely.
Everyone tells me Banff is a place I've got to get to for sheer beauty.
Well, it's gorgeous. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, but, the skiing's better in British.
Were you Whistler? Where are you up there?
I'm at a place called Big White.
Big White. All right. Well, I'm gonna Google that for you there, Greg. And hey, take care of yourself. Have a great winter. It was great talking some baseball with you. I'm glad you answered the call. We don't get together often enough, but when we do, usually good baseball things happen. Appreciate you, Zonnie.
Anytime, dude.
You got it, man. My man's up in Toronto getting it done for the Rogers Sportsnet. 16 years in the big leagues and having himself a hell of a career, and he is a sharp-dressed man. Ask anybody in the great Canadian North up there. And he actually rubs elbows with Geddy Lee once in a while, which I always feel left out when Geddy's behind the plate and I'm not there. They're not going to put Rush back together again either. I saw the video. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.